Hello and welcome back to the Our Gifted Kids podcast for 2022. I'm really excited. We've got a whole new year ahead of us. I have spent a good few days planning that out and getting organized, which is really exciting because in 2021 I really didn't have the time or the energy to get a lot of that sort of stuff done, to be honest. To be honest, in 2021 I was totally burnt out. It was really, really freaking hard year for me. Early in the year, I hit the wall. I totally shut down. It was messy. I was incredibly emotionally fragile. To layer on top of standard old parental burnout, I was also grappling with figuring out that I was also autistic and gifted, which was not at all expected and took my brain a number of months to compute as my emotions and my body reacted very strongly to this sort of realization. So there was a lot of time spent with a psychologist as I worked through that and went through the assessment process. And we will revisit that in a couple of months, the whole theme of adult diagnosis of neurodivergency, because this is actually something I see a lot, albeit didn't expect for myself. So what do we know? But a lot of the times, if our kids are being diagnosed with being gifted, being autistic, ADHD, dyslexia, whatever it is, well, there's a good chance there's someone in the family like them. And often that's one of the parents or two of the parents. And back when I was a kid, we just didn't have the understanding of neurodivergency that we have now, but that we're even still developing. And so there's a lot of people that weren't diagnosed back in the day who are figuring it out late in life, like me. And that's a really good thing because I feel a lot better for it. It's been a game changer for me. And although 2021 was really challenging, there was massive burnout, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So today's podcast, we're talking about the parental load of parenting high needs kids like our gifted kids. We're talking about sometimes the best thing we can do for our kids is actually work on ourselves. We're talking about what does burnout look like and how bad is it for you? Because it was really freaking bad for me. And I share that at the moment on Facebook and Instagram, we're actually doing our 9 days of rest, gifted style. So every day for 9 days, I'm talking about different types of rest, burnout, and even what burnout looks like in gifted kids. We're about halfway through at the moment, but the videos are still on Instagram if you've missed them, and Facebook, and you can tune in, and they will always be there. So even if you're listening to this later on, you can go back and have a look. We just touch on the subjects because they're big topics. And the idea is at the end of the 9 days, maybe you've got a clue where your deficits are. Maybe this is a bit of a reality check for you, like it was for me, and you've got a bit of direction on where you might go. What I'm going to do is actually dive in deeper within the Our Gifted Kids Hub. And we're going to look at one of those topics per week for the next couple of months. What is the Our Gifted Kids Hub? It's our online community. It's a monthly subscription, and it's a place where we get together, connect, get to know other parents of gifted kids a bit more intimately, and there's a whole bunch of information and resources. And I'm going to open the doors for that next week for a few days. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested, and there's more information to come. So stay tuned for the episode. And let's get real about how hard it is to parent gifted kids and the toll that takes on us as parents. Hi, I'm Sophia Elliott. As a parent of 3 gifted kids, I'm here to talk about all things gifted because I've been isolated and uncertain, and I felt like that parent. Then I found peace of mind, support, and my community. This podcast is about sharing that journey, actually parenting gifted kids, and connecting with advice and support. So we have everything we need for every member of our family to thrive. This is the Our Gifted Kid podcast. I've been trying to be kind to myself because a lot over the last year have been very fragile. The big giveaway from time to time is finding myself fighting back the tears, having done something insignificant, but it was just too much. Minor inconveniences that took a few minutes to remedy, no big deal. But I would just feel weepy. You know that feeling when you just want to cry because it's all too much? You're so near the edge that you overflow at the slightest nudge. If you'd asked me, I'd say I'm good. I am good. We've had a big year. 2021 was a very big year, but we've moved forward in a bunch of challenges with huge relief. We're in a pretty good place. This was just me from time to time. The cup would get completely empty or it would overflow, depending on how you looked at it. For the past few years, my daydream has been the idea of spending a month in a silent retreat. Someone else does the laundry and cooks. I don't have to talk to anyone. All I have to do is sleep, maybe meditate, watch TV, read, maybe the odd walk or a bit of half-assed yoga. So this confirmed my suspicion. Like so many parents, I was totally burnt out. In 2021, I hit the wall in a bad way. It was really messy. 2021 was hard. I've always given more than I have, and I'm learning just how true that is as I'm actually still coming to terms with being autistic and gifted, another gem of 2021, which I did not see coming at all. But that's a whole other podcast. As a parent, that giving became an exponential curve leading directly to burning myself out. I've had to confront recently that parenting high needs, highly complex kids is actually really hard. I've never been particularly good at giving myself a break, so that was a confronting lesson. I've always maintained that parenting is hard, full stop. It doesn't matter who you are or who your kids are, it's just hard, and it is. But last year, talking to Kate from Dynamic Parenting, who was a previous guest on the podcast, she confirmed to me that most parents and families do have a few years of very intense parenting, or a number of years. I don't want to play that down before things start to level out and become easier. But parenting high needs kids isn't like that. Our kids rely on us for many more years to help them co-regulate, help them manage day-to-day living, help them meet all of their additional needs. So those intense years go on and on and on and on. I feel the truth of that in my bones, in every tired cell of my body. It's the hours spent supporting them through a meltdown, the hours spent as they process their day and try to fall asleep and try to fall asleep again. It's the energy put into creating a dinner that meets their sensory requirements. It's meeting their sensory requirements. It's the hours figuring out what is going on, years on wait lists, assessments, reports, dead ends. It's the hours going to therapy. It's the hours thinking about how to meet their needs, finding professional support, taking them, paying, put it into practice, finding the right school, advocating at that school, supporting their cognitive needs, and then cooking dinner. I feel like I've spent half of the past few years driving, the other half thinking and problem solving, and the other half supporting. Yes, that's 3 halves. That's why I'm so freaking tired. While I couldn't imagine any other reality, I've been told a typical family doesn't contend with these challenges so intensely, especially for so long. Yes, there are many other challenges. It's not a competition. Parenting is hard. It's just an acknowledgement that a child with needs, high needs, is called high needs because those needs are higher than typical. Therefore, as parents, we have to ensure those needs are met or supported or fall in a heap trying. I've spent years writing that off, assuming it's this hard for this long for everyone, not daring to think, let alone say out loud, such a controversial parenting words as, it's harder for us. but it's validating to know our exhaustion is warranted. I've even stumbled upon research recently that confirmed that parenting gifted kids is as stressful as parenting kids with a physical disability. There's a lot of us holding it together, and some days that's easier than others. Those days are overshadowed by meltdowns, anxiety, and conflict take a toll. As parents, we need to fill our cup or we won't have the resilience to last the distance. Honestly, I've been trying to rest most of 2021, trying to refill that cup. It's a bloody empty cup, so it's hard to fill. And that silent retreat is not getting any closer, and life goes on. But acknowledging that actually does help. It really helps. It's not like I'm doing something wrong. It's just a superhuman effort to last this long. And quite frankly, I'm all out of superhuman. So I'm learning about what needs to happen. What are the actual priorities? What can we cut out in the name of sanity and rest, and what needs to stay? Unfortunately, dinner needs to stay. It's like a bane in my life. But there are certain levels of laundry standards that are negotiable, at least for me. We're going to take a term off all but strictly essential appointments to have a rest and give everyone some time to process. We've done it before and actually gave the kids some space to consolidate what they'd learned, and actually led to some nice leaps as well as a much needed reduction of weekly miles. So after 2 years of COVID and that uncertainty and the constantly changing environment, lots of us are burnt out. Parenting gifted kids is harder, and research even validates that for what that's worth, because I know we all feel it. When we keep going and going and going for longer than your typical child, you burn out too. Those gifted and neurodivergent kids that we love so much need more support and co-regulation for longer. And after 5, 10, 15 years, it can affect our health too. So what is burnout? Are you tired, exhausted, burnt out, depressed, anxious, indifferent, irritable, angry? Is your sleep disturbed? Do you lack motivation? Is your brain a fog? Is your performance lower? Are you becoming asocial? Do you have fragile emotions like me? Does your body just fill with aches and pains? If you've answered yes to any of these things, a good place to start is actually just checking in with your GP. Get a checkup. I know the last couple of years I've really struggled with low iron. And when that's been the case, I'm like beyond exhausted. It's a whole different exhaustion, but I'm also grumpy. And now I recognize that particular feeling of exhaustion with that particular feeling of grumpiness means I need to check my iron. So consider a checkup. Consider even some psychological support if maybe depression is an issue or you're just not feeling happy. They can be hard to get into and they can be wait lists, but there are short-term solutions as well. Call a helpline, talk to someone. Maybe see a naturopath after you visited the GP. So in their book, Burnout by Parker, Tavella and Ayres, they have this list. And I'm going to read it for you. And if any of this resonates with you, maybe it's more than just feeling tired or even exhausted. Maybe you need to look into this burnout thing. So, my word is my bond, and I'm somewhat perfectionistic. I am viewed as a highly responsible person. I can't get distance from my responsibilities. Now, those first three, I think if you're a parent of a gifted child, then you probably ticked all those. I lack energy across the day. I feel emotionally drained and exhausted. I constantly feel tired or fatigued. I feel less satisfied with life. I have to reread things because I wasn't concentrating the first time. My attention is less. I'm more cynical about things and people in general. I find it hard to concentrate on the task at hand. My capacity to remember things is not as good as it was. I feel agitated constantly. I tend to scan when I read rather than focus. Did any of that resonate for you? So I've been looking into this rest thing for well over a year now, even before I burnt out, because I've never been good at it. I've always been a very busy person, whether in my actions or just in my head, always working on something, learning something, doing something. So the idea of rest was actually a real big challenge for me. I stumbled across a book a couple of months ago called Sacred Rest by Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith, which suggested that there are 7 types of rest. And this really inspired me to think that we could categorize rest and define it and actually break it down. And it's really helped me to consider the different areas of my life. So on Instagram and Facebook at the moment, we are going through our 9 days of rest gifted style. As a part of that, we are looking at Dr. Saundra's 7 types of rest, amongst other things. And I'm applying a gifted and neurodivergent lens to that because on top of what she presents, I actually think if you look at it from a gifted and neurodivergent point of view, there's more to add. So the 7 types of rest are physical, mental, emotional, sensory, creative, spiritual, and social rest. And they aren't all exactly what they sound like. There is actually something behind it. So if any of those things I read out resonated with you, if this podcast had resonated with you, maybe check out those videos. They're on Facebook and they're on Instagram. And at the moment, we're still doing our 9 days of rest, so you can get involved and check that out. So we need to make changes. What can you do to make life easier for you? What needs to stay versus what is nice to have? What can you pause for a bit? What is essential? What expectations or standards can you lower to give yourself some space? I think the first step is actually figuring out where the deficit is, which is why I like Dr. S's 7 types of rest. It's an opportunity just to kind of go, okay, where are the areas in my life where I have some deficits and I need to do some work? Because sometimes the best thing we can do for our kids is actually work on ourselves. In fact, if that's the one parenting hack that I have learned over the years, is that the one thing, the best thing we can do for our kids is work on ourselves. My biggest shifts in parenting have not come with my kids changing their behaviors. It's me changing my mindset or perspective about something. So today, ask yourself, how bad is it? How bad is it for you? Because it was pretty freaking bad for me. And if you need to take some action, if you need more than just a few nights sleep to right you, consider seeing your GP and taking a few next steps. Tune into our 9 days of rest videos. They're on Facebook and Instagram. Join us in the Facebook group and share your thoughts and how you're feeling. Or subscribe on our website to get more info straight into your inbox at ourgiftedkids.com. So keep an eye out over the next week or so for when we open the doors to the Our Gifted Kids Hub. It's a monthly membership community for resources and peace of mind that I've been working on for some time. It's an opportunity for parents of gifted kids to get together in a safe place, to connect with people, to have that community, and to have a whole bunch of resources to make it easier, save time and energy in this parenting gifted kids journey. So subscribe on ourgiftedkids.com to stay in the loop for that one. And we'll talk to you soon. And in the meantime, get a little rest. You've earned it. If you enjoyed this episode and it inspired you in some way, I'd love to hear about your biggest takeaway in the comments. For more episodes, you can subscribe. And to help others find our podcast, please leave a review. You can find show notes and more resources at ourgiftedkids.com. And connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. See you in the same place next week.